Hello, Fish Faithful. This is Marlins Daily on the Fan Arch Network. I am Kurt Semder. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a chance to head on over to Hard Rock Stadium over the weekend and take in some preseason football. Boy, the Dolphins look good, don't they? Boy, gonna be a long season. Definitely looks that way. Giants really showed them what's what, at least in a preseason game. But hey, they don't matter, right? Okay. The Marlins, nice weekend. Very, very nice weekend. It did exactly what they needed to do, did exactly what we wanted them to do. Finally have a chance to talk about something happy here on the show after what was a rough week last week. The Marlins sweep the Nationals over at Lone Depot Park, 3 straight wins, only gave up 2 runs in each game. Really just solid effort all the way around, getting the job done with those 3 W's. It didn't look like it was going to be the case. Friday night, how many of you were like me and when Pete Fairbanks, who didn't pitch at all last week in the Phillies series, on plenty of rest, comes in and blows the first save he's blown in quite some time, had the feeling of, okay, well, it was a nice little run we had, but this is it. Instead, they came through in a big way. Javier Sanoja, who continues to get those big hits when they need him to, had an RBI hit earlier in the game and comes through with the walk-off hit in this one to get the Marlins to win 3-2 on Friday night. It was a bullpen game, so you thought there'd be a lot more offense, but in fact, both bullpens actually pitched very well in this game. Ryan Gusto, 4 shutout innings as the opener, got it done, and the Marlins, like I said, picked up the W and got the 3-2 win, and they carried that momentum throughout the weekend. On Saturday, they got a 4-2 win, got off to a great start. Otto Lopez driving in a pair in the first inning. Very strong lineup. The way this lineup got put together, they dropped Jacob Marcy down in the lineup, which is what I've been clamoring for ever since they, for some reason that I still haven't quite figured out, put him in the leadoff spot. Marcy responded with a home run of his own. Roberto Hernandez hit a home run. Yuri Perez looked great, although doing something that I didn't particularly love, and that would be the high pitch count, 100 pitches through 5 innings. So he wasn't able to make it much past that. Too many walks. He had too many walks the last start, too. So just something to keep an eye on here, as he's been fantastic. He's been great. We're nitpicking here, but, you want to see him limit the walks. It'll help him to get deeper into games, and it'll help this team a lot, especially giving the bullpen a little bit of a break when it seems like they're going to be going possibly with more than one bullpen game each turn in the rotation. So either way, got the win, 4-2, nice job. And then, again, just kept building on that into Sunday. Just a nice 6-2 solid victory yesterday. Xavier Edwards had the big 2 RBI hit to get him up 3-1. Joe Mackey had an RBI double to really put them ahead for good. And this team managed to do well despite, again, Jansen Junk not pitching deep into this game either. The bullpen had to really step it up and take up a lot of innings. So all in all, good weekend. The offense showed up when they needed to. The pitching was good enough. The bullpen was excellent. Just those hiccups in Philly, but the bullpen really was excellent and continuing that stretch they've been having. And the Marlins getting 3 straight wins, moved back 3 games over 500. So things are looking great. I mean, right? This is exactly what you wanted. This is exactly what we wanted the team to do. You can only play the games that are on your schedule, obviously, and can only win so many games in a short amount of time. They got it done. They won 3 games. That's great. Get the brooms out, and things are going in the right direction. Not so fast, though. Not so fast. I mean, there is one part of this that we need to at least address, and that is the fact that despite the sweep and despite winning 3 in a row, the Marlins gained no ground in the National League wildcard race. None whatsoever. They are still 6 games behind the Phillies for the second wildcard spot. The Phillies swept the Cardinals over the weekend. They've now won 9 straight games, so they are just rolling, and it seems like they're just going to roll their way right into October, but we'll see how that plays out. And then the Padres kept their 4-game lead over the Marlins by sweeping the Twins. So the Fish sit just 31 games left in the season, about a month of baseball to go, and they are 4 games out of the last playoff spot. There is still a lot of work to do, and this is why when you have those games like they had last week against one of the teams you're directly chasing, not only do you not want to get swept, but you want to at least win one of the games, because you at least need to limit the damage or try to pick up a little bit of ground. And really now at this point, all the Marlins can do is just try to win as many games as they can and hope that one of these teams cools down. Because like I said, look, the Phillies and Padres aren't going to win every game the rest of the way. The Marlins aren't going to win every game the rest of the way. But the fact is that if you look at these teams and the way they've been playing over the last 2 weeks or so, San Diego and Philadelphia are playing significantly better than Miami has been playing as of late. Even the Diamondbacks, to a degree, have been playing better. But again, we're talking about 4 teams, 2 spots, and the gap is still pretty wide between the wild card teams and where Miami is in the standings right now. So they got some work to do. And they've got a chance this week to make a statement as far as whether they're for real or not. And we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. But for now, like I said, just get as many wins as you can, win the games that are in front of you. You can only play the teams that's on your schedule. And I'm not going to get overly excited about sweeping the Nationals, because this is one of those teams that's just, they're just not in contention. They've made their moves at the deadline. They've moved on they're looking towards next season. And Miami's got to beat some teams that are playing for October if they want to be part of October. That's kind of what it boils down to. Another topic for what happened here over the weekend, an interesting move that I found to be quite curious, not overly curious, but a little bit curious, was the decision that was made regarding the Marlins bullpen. They decided to designate John King for assignment, which, looking at simply over the way he has pitched as of late, isn't that big of a deal, but also makes sense. He hasn't been great. His last 12 appearances or so, his ERA is almost 10. Prior to that, he was excellent. He was racking up a lot of wins out of the bullpen. He had an ERA under 2 his first 38 appearances. He was one of their best relievers. He had that ankle sprain that kind of derailed him a little bit, but, still somebody that this team relied on in big spots, and he hasn't been able to get it done as of late. I get that. This was one of those guys who I thought the Marlins might be looking to trade at the trade deadline, and I bet you there were some teams that were interested in picking him up. Considering, again, lefty out of your bullpen is something a lot of teams are usually looking for. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a new home rather quickly, despite the recent struggles, just because he is a lefty out of the bullpen with experience. And nothing against Jack Rolston, who got called up from AAA Jacksonville to take the spot. He pitched 2 innings in relief yesterday, 2 shutout innings in Major League debut. Great for him. I hope he is off to a wonderful start in his career, and I hope it's all right here in Miami. But King is a guy who, it's a shame just because, not because he got cut and not because he didn't deserve to be cut, because, again, he has pitched poorly the last few weeks. But this feels to me anyway like a missed opportunity as one of the guys they should have moved at the deadline when his value was high. And it feels like a miss by Peter Bendix, and it feels like a miss by this front office by not trading him and not getting something back for him, because now they don't get anything. They're just going to, cut bait and move on. And the other part of this is it puts their bullpen at a little bit of a disadvantage, and it's going to make things a little bit more interesting for Clayton McCullough in these late game situations when he has to make decisions regarding what he's going to do with his bullpen, because he only has Cade Gibson now as a lefty in the bullpen. And you'd like to have more than one left-handed pitcher out there, especially for matchups, especially when you're a team like Miami who really leans into analytics and leans into the matchups in these games. When you only have one left-handed pitcher in Cade Gibson, you have to really be careful when you're going to use him, especially when you face some of these teams who have very excellent and very threatening left-handed bats. So, the one thing the Marlins do have is a lot of their pitchers, their right-handed pitchers in the bullpen, are pretty good at getting lefties out. Michael Peterson, we've mentioned before, very good at getting guys out on both sides of the plate, despite just being right-handed. There are another couple of guys in there too. But this may put them at a little bit of a disadvantage. And I don't know how many options they have on the farm to pull up from if they need another lefty, but Something to keep an eye on going forward here, and keep an eye on these games when the Marlins choose to deploy Gibson, and how often and during the stretch run they're able to deploy him and make sure and get him out into games and kind of make sure that he's ready to go when they need him to be and not be unavailable too often. Because otherwise it's a very right-handed pitching heavy team, and that can get you into some trouble again against some of these teams that the Marlins are going to be facing going forward. And when we talk about the teams that the Marlins are going to be facing going forward, we get right into the series that begins tonight at Lone Depot Park. Boston Red Sox are in town for an interleague series. Feels very strange still to me. Miami playing Boston this late in the season. I really did like when those interleague games were not as often and kind of, in the middle of the summer where the games weren't meaning so much. But now you've got these 3 games here with Boston coming into Miami. And this is, show up or shut up time for the Marlins. This is one of those series I talked about where you're playing a team that is playing for something, that is playing well, a team that has the caliber of play that you would face if you were to reach the playoffs. You've got them here in your home ballpark. You've just come off a sweep of the Nationals. Time to show up. Time to get it done. And time to show everybody that the Phillies series was a fluke and that the Marlins themselves, are not the fluke. Time to get it done. And again, this is going to be challenging. You've got a Boston team that's won 7 out of 10 coming in. They've been playing excellent now for weeks, if not longer. They've really turned their season around and put themselves in a great position. And this, they just swept the Giants over the weekend. This matchup, on Friday we talked about how this Nationals series, with the way the pitching lined up and the way they had it set up, really benefited the Marlins. This series is kind of the opposite. Tonight you've got Sandy going. Great. Your best opportunity to get off to a good start in this series and ensure you at least get a win. The downside of this series is twofold. First of all, you've got Ranger Suarez going tonight, and you've got Peyton Tolley, who's excellent as well, going tomorrow. Both are lefties, and we have said it before, this team has yet to really figure out how to be effective offensively against left-handed pitchings, especially lefty starters. These 2 pitchers are very good at what they do, and they really have a skill set that would give the Marlins trouble. The other part about this matchup and the way the pitching lines up, it appears anyway, if you base off what you heard the last time that Tyler Phillips was supposed to start, I don't get the feeling Tyler Phillips is going to start the second game of this series. He'll probably come out later in the game, hopefully give you more than 2 innings this time around. But it looks anyway, the way things line up, like the Marlins may have to pitch bullpen games in the second and third games of this series, and it makes it, like I said, I wish they had gone out and got a starter at the deadline. I wish they had gotten somebody. The depth just isn't there in the starting rotation, and you are asking your bullpen to go out there and pitch 2 full games basically for you in this series, because, and it could be more than that. I really hope Sandy does what he does always, pitches deep into a game, pitches effectively, gives you 7 innings plus, and gives the bullpen a break. But if he doesn't, you're in trouble the next 2 days. And that whole, nonsense about, we'll just, see who's available from day to day, and we'll just try to win that game, and when we think about the next game, this is the kind of thing where it gets you into trouble. Sonny Gray will go in that finale of the series later in the week against Ryan Gusto, who pitched well on Friday night. But like I said, pitching matchups or not, offense has to show up. Teams got to play with some aggressiveness. Teams got to play with some urgency. It's everything I said before the Phillies series. Even though they're not chasing the Red Sox in the standings, it's a chance to just show everyone that this team is built for a playoff run and not a team that feasts on the bottom feeders of the rest of baseball, because that's what they've done so far in the second half. They've only been able to really beat, the teams that are below them in the standings, nobody above. This is a chance to make a statement. This is a chance to show up and get it done. And I expect them to play better than they did against the Phillies, just because not only are they kind of probably a little bit more seasoned after that Phillies series and what that did to them, but they're back at home where they play better. So this has every opportunity to be a better week for the Marlins, but it starts tonight. It starts with Sandy on the mound, and if Sandy has a rough night, it could be a rough week too. But let's see what happens. You know what? They're playing well. Maybe the confidence is back. Maybe this is the team that we saw in June, that we saw get on a run after the losing streak. Maybe this is the team we've seen, or maybe it's not. We'll find out starting tonight. Marlins and Red Sox tonight, Lone Depot Park. Sandy Alcantara taking on Ranger Suarez. Should be a good game. We're going to break it all down for you tomorrow and break down the rest of the series as we make our way through what's going to be a real interesting week, the last full week of August, before we start hitting September call-ups, which we're going to talk about this week. And, of course, the last few weeks of the season as we make our way to the playoffs, and a time that the Marlins hope to be a part of. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Marlins Daily. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll see you then.